amen. Today is, I want to say it right, World Sickle Cell Day. Somebody say amen. Our living testimony. I always speak it in his ear that he is a living testimony. He is a living miracle. Amen. He's a living miracle, and he'll be that the rest of his life. We want to bring Tira and Isaiah forward on this World Sickle Cell Day. Church, say amen.
Good morning, my Olive. Sorry. First, thank you to those who wore the red in honor of World Sickle Cell Day. I'm going to try to do this without crying. Today, as well as it being Father's Day and Juneteenth, is also recognized as World Sickle Cell Day. For those of you who don't know, sickle cell is an inherited blood disease that you get from either both parents or one parent who has the disease. It causes your red blood cells to have a sickled shape, kind of like a crescent moon or the letter C. Because of the shape of the red blood cells, it's hard for all of them to flow through your veins correctly. So what happens is you have an area, let's say in your arm, where a bunch of red blood cells will pack up, and that causes the flow of oxygen to that area to be decreased. That causes what's called a pain crisis. There can be swelling, there can be pain, and of course, you know, any part of your body that does not receive oxygen slowly starts to die. Most patients with sickle cell disease are in the hospital frequently because of the pain crisis. They are susceptible to strokes. At young ages, they have hip replacements, some of them total hip replacements on both, which is both sides, and they also suffer from deterioration of their bones. There is no what people would consider a cure for sickle cell, but there is a way to take a sickle cell patient from having the disease to only having the trait. On November 18th, at about 3 o'clock, Isaiah was considered medically sickle cell free. Thank you. It was a long process. It was first, he received a bone marrow transplant, and it was first brought to us as an option by his medical team in November of 2019, after he had a really hard crisis. He was in the hospital for 3 weeks. The devil tried to take him out during that time, and I was actually here at church, and we went into prayer when he called. We went to the doctor the next week, and she said, hey, our hospital has merged with Advent Health, so that means we can now start sending our patients over for a bone marrow transplant. And Isaiah is on the list. He's one of our first patients that we would like to go over. We did a lot of preliminary testing, and we met with the team, and then COVID hit. And they called us in March and said that they would have to shut down operations because they didn't want to put the children at risk. A bone marrow transplant entails the children receiving a 10-day cycle of 3 different kinds of chemotherapy. So it basically kills whatever immune system they have. And because of that, they did not want to risk having a child going through the transplant and possibly being exposed to COVID, because they didn't really know what would happen. So from March 20 until my birthday, October 13th of 2021, we were on a hold. Isaiah was in the hospital the week before my birthday. And I got a phone call while I was on the bus from Advent Health Bone Marrow Transplant Clinic, and she said, "Ms. Parker, we got a date next month. Can your daughter get here to get tested?" Because when we did the original testing, his older sister, Sydney, was a better match. I said, "No problem." And then I started crying on the bus. So the bus driver looked at me and I said, I'm sorry. And she said, "Oh no, I heard," because I had my phone on speaker, and she said, "Congratulations." And I told her thank you. And I called his older sister and I told her we got a date. She had just started a new job at the time, but they had a policy where if you were doing a medical procedure, such as a transplant, you got to go to do that procedure. You got the time off and you got paid. So her supervisor went on the internet and started looking for tickets. She came down the week before and we went in to do our final follow-up testing. We got a phone call 2 days before Isaiah was supposed to check in. And they said, "Ms. Parker, we got some good news and some bad news." And I was like, "Oh, Lord, what? And they said, "Well, when we did everybody's second round of blood work, it came back that Sydney wasn't the better match." I was about to pass out. And then she said, "But Ms. Parker, you actually were a better match." So I really did fall out on the floor, because I was like, "Huh?" Say, what, huh? Me? So she said yes. So she said, "But what we need is for you to come in today to do the other part of the blood work, so we don't have to delay his checking in, which would delay his surgery." So after I got up off of the floor, I jumped in the shower and got dressed, and we went, and they ran the blood work again, and they was like, "No, yeah, you the match." So I said, "Okay." And the doctor said he had been doing this for about 10 years, but only 2 years on sickle cell patients. And he said in the 10 years that he's done this, he's only had this happen one other time before. The reason why the hospital team was so excited is because it is very hard to find another match for a bone marrow transplant, mainly because African Americans don't sign up for the registry. And we all know why. Medical field has not been good to us. So a lot of us don't do it. And it's hard for you to get a good match when it's outside of your heritage, of your ethnicity. So everybody was happy, everybody was jumping up and down. We did all of the testing, which was a lot. I will say this, there were angels placed throughout this whole procedure, because normally you get a call, you get a date, and you still gotta wait sometimes 4 to 5 months before you can actually go in, because you have to do a lot of testing, pre-surgery testing. And every time, there's a social worker that works with the clinic, and there's also a nurse. Every office that she called, she said, "We need to squeeze in the patient. He's scheduled to go to check in on the 8th and have his surgery on the 18th. they made a way. One of the clinic appointments was an hour and a half away from us. I mentioned it just in passing to a church member. And I got a phone call that told me to come outside. They had gave us the cab fare to get to those appointments and to get home. We checked into the hospital on the 8th. Oh, those couple of days of chemo, he was sick. He was really sick. And a part of me as a parent was like, you know, is this worth it? Because he had already had 18 years of pain. And to see him so sick that he could barely eat, he could barely get out of bed, it hurt. And my daughter came over to me and she was like, Mommy, just think about the good things that's gonna happen. He can go away to school now, and he don't have to worry about staying close to home or close to a doctor. He can go to the pool and not have to jump out and take his clothes off and change. She said he can live a normal life. So this little bit of pain that he is going through and being sick, it's gonna be okay. On the 17th, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we went over from Ronald McDonald House to the hospital. They put me to sleep. I got some good drugs too. I woke up and the doctor said to me that harvested my bone marrow. He said, Miss Parker, you did a great job. You made enough where we got a big enough bag and we got some left over just in case. I made my daughter take me to see him, even though I was sore in my back, because they put you to sleep and they go into your back to harvest the bone marrow. I was a little sore and they fussed at me, but I needed to see him. I needed to see him. We woke up the next morning and we walked over to the Ronald McDonald House, and I put some oil on him. He looked greasy. They prayed over the bag, and they hooked it up, and they went in. And his first blood work that they took, a half an hour after the bag was done, it came back and it showed a very small amount of just sickle cell trait. The doctors came in the room and they did like this, and they said, Mom, he is now only sickle cell trait, which means he has no more disease, he'll have no more crisis, he'll be out of pain. I will say this, thank you to my church family, because from the time that we came here as visitors, you guys welcomed us with open arms. You have shown up at the hospital with food, with clothes, because there have been times when we have gone just for an appointment and his blood work has come back bad and they've had to admit him. You have supported him in the sickle cell walk. You have called him and prayed. You have called me and prayed. And there were times when he was in so much pain and I didn't know what to do. And I would try to pray, but I would just be so scared and so upset. And it was always a Mount Olive church member that would call me or text me and let me know, Sister Tira, we thinking about you. We praying for you. Hang in there. Is there anything you need? Anytime I sent out a text, that, hey, Isaiah's at the hospital, I would get a call or a text. Do you have anybody to pick up Kenya? Do you need us to bring her to church? She got dance rehearsal tonight. Do you want us to bring us to dance rehearsal? So I thank you, because people don't realize it doesn't just affect him. It affects the whole family. And she didn't have to miss out on doing things because I was at the hospital. I appreciate it. I'm so grateful that he's okay. I'm grateful that I have an extended family that still now checks on us and calls and sees if he's okay. We didn't come to church a couple of Sundays ago, and I only told a few people because he wasn't feeling well. But I got a bunch of text messages. Hey, Sister Tira, is everything okay? And I would just let them know, yes, he wasn't feeling well today. It means a lot, because this disease is a lonely disease. It's hard on the family, and it's a lonely disease because you are in the hospital sometimes 2 and 3 times a month, and you'll get people going, oh God, again? Now, I never got that feeling from here. Never, not one time. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful because from the time that he was born, he's had people always praying for him and always standing over him. And there's a lot of times, there's a lot of things that he went through that should have taken him out. And I know it was because of God that he is still here, because there's a reason for him to be here. And I know that this is just the beginning. And I just want to say thank you. I also want to ask, if you want to know what you can do to help, one, you can become a bone marrow donor, and you can do that by getting tested. You can also become a blood donor. There are children, adults who receive monthly blood transfusions to help alleviate the crisis. And because African American community, we don't like dealing with doctors, in the state of Florida, we're at the bottom of the list as far as the people who donate more frequently. It's not hard. They appreciate it. There have been times when he has needed blood and we've had to wait a couple of hours to get blood because it's running low. And in some instances, there are states where people have to wait days before they can get blood because the supply is low. So if that's something that's very simple, very easy, they give you some juice and crackers when you're finished. You can contact One Blood or the Red Cross, and they can direct you to the nearest blood bank that you can go to. And while you're there, you can also ask if you can be tested and be added to the bone marrow donor list. In the past 5 years, bone marrow transplant has become more frequent as a means of a medical cure for sickle cell. And because of the advances that have been made, they're having more of a success with it. So we need more of us to get on that list, because you never know. You can literally save someone's life. Thank you.
I won't take long, but I just want to say thank you to all my church members and family for being there for me when I was in the hospital, going through all kinds of pain. It was really nice to know that you guys were always praying for me, there to support me. I appreciate every single one of you, especially the people who checked in on my mom all the time. Miss Nicole, I thank you so much for being there for her all the time. I'm so happy that I can finally live my life and be happy and healthy. I won't miss the hospital at all. I don't miss going back there at all. I'm so happy I don't have to see it anymore besides monthly checkups. Thank you, everybody.
Come on, y'all, put your hands together. Give God praise. Give God praise. Come on. Come on, let's give God praise. What a blessing, what a miracle. Amen.